My favorite day of the week is a Monday after an ATK Pro Series round, because it means Tasmin Pepper, Jonathan Bentz and myself are going to get to analyze a couple of incidents. Welcome to my favorite gang. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. How are you? I didn't think you were going to be here tonight, though, so I'm a little bit disappointed.
Well, I'm glad you weren't there yesterday, because apparently you were trying to play golf. Is it as good as your driving?
It's better.
Is your driving better than your driving?
No, nothing's better than my golf, eh?
But listen, Taz, it's great to have you back, and it's going to be really cool because obviously you didn't see the race, so the incidents that we're going to see now, neither of us, I've seen obviously live. Jonathan, obviously, a big race yesterday. You know, round 5, Monza. A track that is super fast, but it's got some heavy braking zones, and turn 1 is notorious. So just to put everyone in perspective, including Taz, some hectic decisions were made by you as the clerk of the course, as the official. Any incidents in turn 1 you were going to be dealing with pretty seriously.
Correct, yeah. Before the race, we sat in the drivers' briefings and we made it pretty clear that any incidents in turn 1, because, you know, we've been harping it since the last round that turn 1's going to be a problem. So we've been harping it that any incident that you cause in turn 1 will automatically give you a drive-through penalty. Not up for debate. That's what we were going to do. Yeah. So I feel we've been consistent in this, and, you know, we are going to cover some turn 1 action tonight. So stick around for that. But yeah, I think we got some interesting incidents lined up tonight. Some stuff that's maybe a bit unique that we haven't seen before.
Cool. So, well, before we get to that, Taz, just, I mean, it's quite interesting from a racing perspective. You know, when you are heading into in a season, and like we're nearing the midway mark now, the guys do adapt regulations and rules based on things that are happening. Certain circuits, I mean, you think Spa, notorious for turn 1 incidents. Monza, obviously, on the F1 circuit, the same thing. And the drivers do, in the drivers' briefing, get told, listen, we're going to be dealing with the seriously. Certain tracks where drivers exceed track limits. At that track, if you do that, you're going to get a drive-through penalty. Whereas at other circuits where it's not kind of the norm, maybe you get away with more. This is the reality in real racing.
Yeah, I mean, and if they're getting warned beforehand, I mean, there's no reason why they should be doing it, or them like not expecting a penalty in return when they do it. So I think if they're warned beforehand, they know what's coming their way. And like you said, this track has always got incidents into turn 1, and there are a lot of sections where if you do run off track, you're exceeding track limits and you will receive a penalty. And I mean, in real life it's like that, and on sim racing it's just like it's exactly the same. So I think the penalties that are being dished out are correct, and people just need to start obliging by the rules, and they won't receive any penalties.
Look, we're going to end off, I think, our incident report this evening with just a general chat about the state of sim racing. So we'll leave that for the end of the show, because I think we've all got some strong points that we want to get across. But Jonathan, just on a positive note, you know, the whole idea behind these incident reports is obviously, you know, we've said this a few times now, we're not picking on anybody. The decisions that are made are same as in the real racing world. That is it. Not going to change. Decisions happened. But we've seen less incident reports at Monza than we did the previous round at Paul Ricard. That's what we're trying to achieve here, that the guys are obviously also growing in the series and becoming better drivers that are making better decisions under pressure.
Yeah, I think it really is that. I think we've definitely seen a drop in incident reports this week. And, you know, I'm sure there's been some incidents that haven't been reported. I know there was one or two guys that dealt with their incident off track. And I like to see that sort of thing, because I think there's more room for growth when the guys can sit down and have an amicable conversation about what went down. And I think they learn from that more.
You know what I loved
Well, it
as well?
shows respect, doesn't it? It shows respect from the drivers to the other drivers, and they know, and they're in the race together. And you know, if they can all play fair, there's no reason why they can't have a really good race.
You know what's quite tricky. I mean, there are 2 points I want to bring up here. Just on what Jonathan was saying, what I loved in the race yesterday, there were actually one or two. I'm trying to remember who the drivers were, where like a little mistake, under braking, tap, knocked the guy offline. And the guy was like, sorry, take back the position. We saw that, I think, maybe twice yesterday. And that for me was like, well done. You realize it was a little mistake, wasn't malicious, but you gave back that position straight away, and everyone got to continue racing happily with no incidents and no penalties. But the other thing is, Taz, on your point that you raised now, when you are racing in a series, like you with the W Series, you are seeing those girls week in, week out at the track. It's a little bit different in this environment because, like, we are sitting in different parts of the country, so are the drivers. So they don't ever get to go face to face and hang out and spend time in a pit lane. And I think that it allows for people to deal with things in a slightly better way. Whereas, it's quite easy to, say what you want to say because you're never face to face.
Yeah, I think it makes it easier for someone to be a little bit more aggressive or say the wrong thing because they're not going to be faced with someone right in front of their face. And I think that makes it a lot more difficult to, I think you actually show a little bit more respect when you with these people all the time in pit lane, because you've got to see them every day. I mean, if you have issues with each other, you say it how it is and you get on with it, where these guys a lot of them are hiding behind behind their sims and not facing them the way they need to. But I mean, it happens in real life racing, it happens in sim racing, it happens everywhere. So it is what it is. And I think everyone just needs to start showing a little bit more respect for everyone.
But Jonathan, you know what's cool for me now as well is, I mean, the best thing that you always want is to be racing in a series where you're spending time with the same drivers, because you start learning their characteristics, their little traits, the way they deal with things. And I mean, I remember us raving about how well Jason and Leslie were going door to door in Paul Ricard, and he said, well, they spend a lot of time racing together, so they know each other's strengths and weaknesses and how to race. And what we're seeing now, round 5, it literally is the same guys that are kind of qualifying. 90% of the field is the same week in, week out. So the guys should be getting comfortable in that zone of knowing who they're racing with, and that level of trust and respect is improving. Maybe that also is why we're seeing less incidents.
Yeah, I think so. The drivers will learn each other's styles. I mean, certain drivers will also learn to keep away from other drivers. Certain drivers will learn how close they can race to other drivers. And also, generally, the drivers want to be working their way up the grid every week. It's not always possible. Drivers are always improving, and the competitiveness of this field is really good. The pro group is separated by
they were 1.7 from 1 to 30 in qualifying.
Yeah, so it's great to see that, and it makes it harder for guys to work their way up the grid, but that's the goal. Yeah. So generally, the guys will race within their pace group. So I think improvements all around.
Okay, let's have a look then at our first instance. So we've got 5 that we're going to go through this evening. 2 are from the Pro-Am race, and then 3 from the pros. I mean, listen, there was an incident in the Pro-Am that was absolute carnage. I mean, we lost a lot of cars, but like I said, there was no incident issued because it literally was like somebody made a mistake, spun out and collected cars and coming around a blind corner into Lesmo 1, no one can see. And it's nice that people aren't putting incident reports in for stuff like that, because there's no maliciousness. It was just one of those things that will happen from time to time. But talk us through our first incident this evening and who's involved.
Okay, first incident, we have a Mr. Duggan and a Mr. Eekhout. This happened on lap 9. If we can see that now, and then heading into Parabolica. see Eekhout chasing Duggan there, and then as the braking zone hits.
Yeah, we never saw that in the race. I don't remember seeing that. Taz, you have a go at this
one. Me have a go. Okay, so yeah, I think he's just hit him under brakes. I mean, he's done the typical drafting from behind, catching a slipstream, and when Duggan's hit the brakes or lifted off, Eekhout just hit him. So
I found this a very strange incident because, and you can see it from the in-car view, where it looks like he's trying to bump draft him to help him catch up to Strauss, and so it's unhit there, and then it's almost like a constant push.
The initial push isn't the initial push. I don't think is the issue, because he, like you say, he's bum drafting him and trying to push him towards the driver in front of him. But there is a point where you're going to start braking, so you kind of have to back out from the guy in front of you, and you've got to let him go. So I think he's definitely at fault here.
Just my input there. He should never. I mean, Raymond has taken the defensive line. He's gone inside. He said, if you want to go around me, then that's what you've got to do. Take the outside around the parabolica. So Eekhout, Craig, is never going to do anything there on the inside because that's already sealed off. So that little bump there should never have happened. By then he should have pulled out to try and go around the outside or backed off. So it's 100% his fault because he's not going to get a move done through the inside going into parabolica there. It's too late. So maybe pull out and follow Strauss's route. You know what I mean? He would have had a chance and had maybe a different drive out onto the start finish. But the minute he came and did that first tap, he then should have known he needs to get on the brakes because Raymond is going to be going on brakes now. And for you to tap the guy on the brakes like that, it's only going to end up one way, and that's in the barriers as it did. So pretty cut and dry, really.
Yep, absolutely. My main concern, and I mean I need to reiterate this with the guys. My main concern is that whether that was malicious or unintentional. And I'm concerned about the nature of it because it happened so close to the braking zone, and there was zero attempt at any sort of move. So I'm very concerned that was slightly malicious. But
his first hit is already quite close to the initial braking zone as it is. So I think that if he is drafting from behind, I mean, he could have pulled out. There's no reason why he could have. Like, he didn't. He had room to pull out.
It wasn't his intention to pull out.
That space. I think to me, it's almost like he's done it on purpose. He's been irritated for some reason, and he's pushed the guy off under braking. But it's hard to say because you don't know if they've had an incident in the corner before or if they, I don't know.
Now, Jonathan, listen, I mean, that'll always remain between our opinion and only one person's going to know the truth here. And we'll never admit it, so it's very difficult to call it. But I think what you can do from an official perspective is that you can use this as an example and say to guys, listen, at no point here was there an overtake move. The guy's done everything right in terms of sealing off. That corner has gone defensive, so it's not up to you to go around it. That type of stuff we're going to look upon very sternly because you literally are tapping a guy off under brakes. There was
Duggan hasn't done anything wrong. He's stuck to the inside. He's kept his line. He hasn't changed direction under braking or anything like that. So he's done everything right according to the book. And it's up to Eekhout behind him to make a move past him. You can't drive through someone. So I think he's definitely in the wrong.
Yeah, and it's also bizarre. Look at Strauss. So Strauss went defensive, and then he realized he wasn't under pressure. Watch out. You'll see him, he moves back to the outside. I might not see it on that shot. You might get another view of it. But he also started on the inside and moved back to the outside. So there we go. He's moved to the outside already. Now, what I'm trying to understand here is what line is Craig trying to take through the corner? Because the only reason that Raymond has gone there is to go defensive, is to block a move. So I don't understand what he's trying to do, but even staying on his back through here, he's only compromising himself. because he's not on the racing line. Look at Strauss. He did the move in, and then he went back to take the proper racing line for the turn in here. So he's only compromised himself going into that corner. So it's a bit hard, because I think he would have had a shout at an overtake into turn one had he have gone back to the outside. And remember, Raymond is going to be
back on him or something.
No, Raymond's going to be compromised because he's gone defensive, so he's going to have a terrible out of the parabolica. So if Craig was using a racing brain here, he would have gone outside and said, right, dude, you compromise, I've got you in turn one. But it's just, that's malicious for me, and I don't like seeing that.
Yeah, that's why I say that it's a concern for me, and I want to reiterate to the community that malicious driving won't be accepted at all. So this penalty itself is going to be looked at as a more stern, from a more stern approach, and I think we need to look at a qualifying round for the next round.
It's just it doesn't make any sense. That's my view. So I'm not going to disagree with you on this one, Jonathan.
Yeah, I fully agree as well.
Okay, wrapped up. Let's move on to the second incident, which is between Kersop and Kleb. Now, this is also in the Pro-Am round, and this is lap 4 into turn 1. Kersop here is busy with a battle with Murphy. He does take a late break, but Murphy does great to allow space. And Kleb, unfortunately, comes from very far back and got involved in this, in a gap that wasn't there, unfortunately.
Taz, off you go, because that's pretty cut and dry as well.
Yeah, I reckon he saw an opportunity, but still was a bit far, and he's hit him on the back left wheel. It's not like he's fully next to him, so I don't see why he needed Kersop needed to actually give him space. He was ahead of him, and like you can see how far Kleb's actually come from behind. So I think these guys met each other around in the corner, and it gives Kleb a chance to get to them, but where he's hit him is unacceptable. I mean, he could have backed out of that.
I'd like to just reiterate what Jonathan was saying, and a big shout out to Murphy, because this is what we're looking for. You are coming under massive pressure to turn one. It's heavy braking. There's a lot of incidents here, and he saw Kersop coming down the inside, and what did he do? He gave him space. He never tried to turn in to take his racing line. So that for me is sensible driving. He's trying to survive the corner. Have a look here. He goes to turn in. He sees him coming, and he opens up. You see that turn? So give him a chance, because he knows he's got the inside for the left-hander. Obviously, Kersop ends up going onto the curb, which unsettles his car a little bit. But this is never ever a gap. It's an ever closing gap. It's a gap that's looked like it was there, and it's never going to be there by the time you arrive. So for me, that is where Kleb is 100% at fault. He should have realised, listen, I don't actually have a chance here, and backed up, because he's literally just taking his usual racing line through there, irrespective of the fact that there is a car involved.
Yeah, he caught at such a pace that for him to back out and let Kersop go ahead would have meant he slowed down quite a bit. But unfortunately, that is what happens when drivers ahead of you tangle. I mean, you can't expect the gap to open that isn't there.
Yeah, he was trying to muscle his way through, which, I mean, is all good and well, but I mean, that would have worked if he was door to door. Then there wouldn't have been an incident there, and he would have just pushed him a little bit wide. But because of, as Tasmin said, where he collected him on the rear wheel, it's just, unfortunately, that driver, Kersop didn't have a chance in that situation. So Farrant was literally just a passenger after that.
Yeah, pretty cut and dry on this one. 15-second penalty for Kleb.
Yep.
Inconsistency with previous penalties issued for rear ends.
But I really love seeing what Murphy did there. Literally, you can see that he actually opened the. He literally said, "Oh yeah, here he comes. Let me give him a chance. Both of us can go through the corner."
Survive the corner.
Yeah, it was nice racing.
For sure.
What's next, pros?
Now we're going to go on to the pros, guys. Yeah. Okay.
There's a big sigh. So this is obviously the incident.
So yes, let's do this in order now. So let's deal with the lap 1 turn 1 incident immediately. Because it happened first. And I'm sure everybody is super excited for this.
It's a very interesting choice of words that you've gone with there. Fired up might have been better than fired. But let's have a look. I've seen it, Jonathan. You've seen it plenty, and you made a call that you warned the guys. We spoke about this right up front. Any incidents, turn one, drive through, and you stuck to your guns. Rightly so, in my opinion. Yeah. Let's see what Golfer Pepper thinks.
Okay, 3 drivers. I'll call it 3 drivers involved here. We have Essa up front. You can see there Webb taking a run at Sherratt. Of course, the Mercedes super fast on the straights here at this track. So he had a great run up on Essa here. Nailed his braking point and tries to go around the outside of Essa. Unfortunately, that too wide doesn't always work out there.
Yeah, you got a great drop off the line. I mean, have a look at that. And I mean, Jordan went offensive straight away to block that inside line for Jason, but committed. I mean, and you can go. We've seen this. You can put your nose there around the outside, and Zahir gives him the option to do that. So Zahir doesn't run wide on the exit of turn 1. He says to him, go around the outside.
Yeah, he runs him a bit wide. Not gonna lie.
No, he squeezes him a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean that's his right to, right?
I personally, I don't mind paint scraping. I don't mind when guys are racing door to door and there is some transfer.
I'm guessing people are going to say Zahir could be to blame here because he should have not assumed the normal turning point for that corner.
I don't think he assumed the normal turning point. He squeezed him to a point and Webb's backed out of it because he's realised he doesn't have space to carry on going up the inside. Yeah. So Webb's done the right thing and Jordan has carried on pushing him into the next corner until he spins around. So for me, it's Jordan 100% to blame here, purely because he doesn't back out of, he just carries on pushing him, doesn't he?
Yeah, so watch this view here. This is quite telling. So push. There was no point that he actually wasn't connected to the bumper of Webb, unfortunately. Now also shout out to Webb here. I mean, when he goes around the outside of Essa here, there's a bit of squeeze, which I am kind of okay with. But we go into survival mode here again. Fantastic. You know, he sees he's running out of room. It's like, nope, this isn't going to work out. He backs out of it. I think that was a very mature move from him.
Well, especially because you warned them beforehand that if you cause an incident to turn 1, you are going to get a penalty and you are going to get a drive-through. So Webb's taken it that he's been squeezed. He cannot go over the curb to get up the inside of Essa into the next corner. So he's backed out of it. So he's done the right thing. And then when he's taken that move and backed out of it, he's then being forced into a spin into the next corner where Jordan can't drive through Webb. So if there's a car in front of you, you can only go when that car goes.
What I think, the way you explained, Jonathan, what Jason did is exactly what Jordan should have done. So when Jason realized, listen, I'm getting squeezed, I'm not going to get through here, he's gone on the brakes so he can make the corner. Jordan's got all the opportunity in the world to see that car on a compromised line slowing down. It's his responsibility to do the same thing, to also back out of it. That for me was the problem. When we viewed it the first time live, we were like, he just didn't back out of it. And unfortunately, when you're making contact at that point, as you're exiting the second part of that chicane, that's when Jason's about to come on the power. Any little nudge on the back there and you're pushing, he's never, I mean, that's Essa drift champion. If he can't control that car there, no one can. So that also for me was quite critical.
Yeah, I mean, and Marius, also the thing is where Jordan could possibly get away with it is if someone was pushing him from behind because he is out of control. But if you see both cars behind him, avoid him going through that corner because they know that if they get on the gas where they want to, they're going to drive into Jordan. So they've kind of backed out of the situation, made a plan to get around the corner, and Jordan's continued to try and drive through Webb.
Have a look at Jason. I mean, Jason Upsmeyer in the Porsche on the left there, he actually goes really on the grass here, but also on the exit of that first chicane, he's on the grass. And then on the inside...
takes a sneaky look.
have a look. He's gone totally wide. So he's actually backed out. Jason's backed out of that completely up smile. He's gone totally wide to make sure he's not involved in anything there. And then the other Merc is involved as well. Bruno Cadile. Yes, we've got it right.
Yes.
What we said round one. Anyway, and Bruno also, he backed off. So Jordan wasn't under any pressure from anyone. No one was tapping him from behind. So yeah.
Essa has definitely taken a big chance here, and Webb, being a nice driver, is actually backed out of it completely. Webb has full right to actually stay around the outside there and squeeze Essa back, but he's backed out of it, because if you look at it at the turning point, Webb's actually ahead of Essa.
Yeah.
So Essa has taken a chance, and he's
got away with it thanks to Webb.
He got away with it because Webb has backed out of the situation. So Essa would be to blame if they did make contact, but because Webb's backed out of it, Essa's definitely he's gotten away with the move, and I think Jordan needs to get into trouble for this one.
But that's also, you don't see that with one view. And obviously the guys have gone and viewed this over and over again. And you're right, Taz, because Zahir's just allowed his car to run a little bit deep into that into the first part of that corner. And they've actually made contact with Jason, letting him know that he's not backing out of it. So he's a bit naughty for sure. But this is also the experience, real racing wise, of a guy like Jason who's gone, listen, I'm going to back out of this. Just make it through the corner. We can continue racing after that. So that for me was a good move, because have a look there. He does. He gets squeezed a little bit wide, but this is, you're going to see that. The guys in racing are going to do that and take those chances. So now what do? You decide to put this into a stock car race where both of you can spin out, or do you get on the brakes, settle back in, and live to fight another corner, which is what Jason Webb did. He's just the most unlucky guy at the moment, because he's been collected three times in 2 races. Because
he's playing the nice guy. I think Webb needs to start being a little bit more aggressive. and he might not be in the firing arm all the time. But I mean, he was ahead here. He could have tried to stay around his outside. He could have gassed it up the inside into the sausage curb and caused even more carnage. But you know what? He's done the right thing. He's backed out of the situation. He's tried to get through the first corner. I mean, the race isn't won in the first corner, so there's no reason to have an incident. And he's now being taken out. I think this definitely could have been avoided.
Just have a look at that shot again, though. What I liked about that is Zahir isn't using brakes at all. But once there's that double tap from Zahir on Jason, have a look at how he gets on the brakes, because he realizes if he doesn't brake here, they're going to take each other out. It's quite interesting to watch, because they're definitely, he doesn't need to be on the brakes. He's gliding through that complex now. But it's interesting because Jason's the only one that comes on the brakes here, because he has to, after that double tap, he's got to stop his car to be able to get it back on line to turn into that corner. So but I just feel sorry for Jason, because the incident Paul Ricard was getting collected in another guy's accident, and he got taken out twice. Remember, Jonathan, later on in the race, he got taken out. He's like, oh my word. I really feel sorry for Jason, but right call.
Well, all Jason can take from this is he needs to be a little bit more aggressive. That's all it is.
So what I like doing, so everyone can hear at home as well, is that these videos are prepped beforehand by myself, and I don't show them to Marius, I don't show them to Tasmin, I don't tell them what penalties have been applied or anything. So obviously Marius saw the incident from one view yesterday, so it's very interesting to sit here and hear what you guys have to say without me butting in and blurting out all the secrets. So on this incident, obviously, we gave Sherratt a drive-through penalty in the race for consistency's sake. And I think it was justified in the impact that it caused in the race.
You know what the hard thing is, though? You're right. I saw it once live, and then there was a replay later on. But obviously, you as the official in charge, you went and looked at it over and over and justified your decision for that drive-through. Backed up by the fact that you had put down the law was down. It was like, don't have a mess up in turn 1 or to drive through. So I'm fully happy with the decision that you've made. I think it's spot on. But I mean, when you obviously watch a video over and over and over and over again, seeing it live for the first time, I never felt that Zaire did anything wrong. But when you watch it now, he didn't do anything wrong. He's just being a racing driver. He's taking every last little bit, and that's an experienced driver. He is no one's bitch. Let's be honest. He's not going to just go, I'm going to give you the corner. He's not. But he's also not. That's malicious. He's just fighting hard for what is his, and that is.
He's taking a chance, and his chance worked, didn't it? Yeah. I mean, he took the opportunity, he tried it, and Webb backed out of it. I mean, Webb didn't have to back out of it, but he did. So
I suppose in the same light, Sherratt's taken a chance, but it hasn't paid off for him.
True.
And that is the big risk that everyone has to take when you've got the drive-through being warned against you. You take a chance, you really risk it. I mean, Essa could have easily had that penalty had Webb not backed out.
Yeah.
I think Jason's still in drift mode here, because like there, he thought, okay, I'm close enough, I'm scoring maximum drift points here. Then he's like, okay, it's just, I think he doesn't have, he hasn't spent much time going door to door in proper racing for years. I mean, Carter was the last time, and he's also fairly new to this level of racing from a simulation perspective, and he's putting in plenty of work. He's got the pace, so I just hope that the luck starts going his way now. But I think he can get elbows out a bit more.
For sure. So that sets us up perfectly for the next incident, which is also in this turn 1, and it was not ruled on in the race. Let me just put that out there.
I don't even know about this.
No, you have not seen this incident. So we are looking at the middle there. See the Vodacom Mercedes and the grey Porsche there, and that is of Grobler and Oliphant.
Okay, so Leslie ended up having to go onto.
It'll make more sense as we see the angles now.
Okay. Who ended up, was that Quade Claessens that ended up going? Oh, it was Jaguar.
No, it was
Quade Claessens. Okay, so it was Claessens that took the inside line. Now, let's see this game, because this is a lot going on here. So Quade's gone over. Quade straight lined the chicane here because he's been bumped out wide.
Yeah.
Jadwad's made the corner.
But
I think Jadwad making Bashir taking that corner has actually squeezed Grobler. JC and the Merc ended up having nowhere to go, and that's how he's clattered into. Have a look here. That's why he's clattered into Oliphant. Oliphant shouldn't put his nose in there, to be honest.
So before approaching the corner, Oliphant's already on the inside, okay? Grobler comes from behind, he's got a quicker car. He then starts crowding Oliphant. So Oliphant was already initially up the inside until Grobler started crowding him on the brake. He then tries to maintain his position up the inside, forcing him to go onto the grass. So you see Grobler comes actually from behind and then starts squeezing him. So no, this one's a tough one.
This is a very tough one.
You know what my feeling is here though, is that I think Leslie's got a little bit grumpy about Grobler having a go, because look where Leslie's ended up. So he knows there's a car on his inside. Why is he ending up in the middle of the chicane? Because with that car on the inside, then be taking a tighter turn to the right, to give that guy, to give Grobler space. But he doesn't. So look where he runs Grobler. Because he comes back up the inside and ends up with his car in the middle. Look there, look at the nose.
Yeah, but I think Grobler gets a little bit optimistic here, don't you think?
Yeah,
he's gone under the brake, and then he's like, oh, okay, cool, I can squeeze a few more places out of this, and then he's actually squashed himself into a situation,
But he's made the corner. So
he's made the corner, but he's made contact with Jadwat, and he's made contact with Oliphant trying to make the corner.
He didn't make contact with Jadwat. Have a look again.
He did.
He stopped the car perfectly and made the corner. Him and Jadwat and Grobler made the corner, no problem. Have a look here.
No, but he hits Jadwat because Oliphant's at the inside. No. Oliphant hits him, which hits him into Jadwat.
Totally. So I don't think JC Grobler's done anything wrong here. He's braked, he's made the corner. But I think Leslie coming back at him saying, no, dude. But look, my concern is where Leslie ends up on this corner. Leslie ends up in the middle of that chicane. Now, why are you there if you've got two cars outside? If you have a look here, two cars outside him, look where he ends up. He makes contact.
He's coming a bit hot, eh? Yeah.
No, he's been grumpy because Grobler's beaten him to that turn. And he's gone, dude, I'm not backing out of this. So have a look here. I've got no issue with Jason. He stopped his car, he's got his car turned in. If he didn't get clipped by Oliphant, he wouldn't have gone into Bashir. Have a look here. I think Leslie's just gone in way tight. And the only reason I'm saying that is because of where he's ended up on that corner.
I can get it from Oliphant's point of view though, because I mean he was already up the inside. He's braked early because of the first turn kind of thing, and Grobler's he's come in hard on the brakes, but he has stopped the car. It's not like he has overdone it. But the fact is, Oliphant wants to now continue his position and stay where he is, and he's being squeezed, so he remains up the inside, and then obviously releases the brake and forces his way through. So, I don't know.
I think at the end of the day, you need to also remember that everybody's braking early at this point.
Yeah.
Grobler, in my opinion, is taking advantage. So what happens is, if you look at this top view, which is going to come up now, which looks at Oliphant, Oliphant at no point is behind Grobler that he can back out. And
no, I disagree with that completely. He was totally behind him, so he needed to have backed out. You know.
No, he wasn't.
But at this point, Marius, we need to see, before they hit the braking zone, they've hit the braking zone, and Oliphant's actually ahead.
You know what?
Initially.
I've got no issue. If JC went and clattered into everybody, the fact that he chose to go in later on the brakes, have a look here. Gone in later on the brakes, have a look at the hole that he's aiming for. He's gone straight for that hole. He's not squeezing because Jadwad moves across. Look at it, he hasn't changed his line at all. But look at where Leslie ends up. So Grobler hasn't changed his line. Bashir has moved across, which has squeezed Grobler, so he's got nowhere to go now. But there was a massive hole that he drove into. Have a look at that, under brakes. Done nothing wrong.
To be fair, I don't think Grobler or Oliphant are actually... It's hard to say, but the Audi that comes around the outside hits Oliphant into Grobler, and that causes him to force him into a spin. If you watch out.
That's Bashir.
Yeah, so the Audi now coming around the outside hits him into that Porsche, which hits him into Grobler. So I think it was just a one tap into another tap.
Where does he come from?
Yeah, exactly. So Sherratt's now seen an opportunity, gasses around the outside, and has gone for the corner and knocked Oliphant's nose into Claessen's Porsche, which then... So, no, not Claessen's Porsche. So who's this other Porsche that's next to this one? Jadwad, yeah. You see?
Let's see that helicopter view again when it comes up. I want to see...
just watch where the Audi comes now. Watch where the Audi actually pushes them all into each other. They do rub going into turn one. They do rub. Fair go. They all rub, but they still kind of get through it. Then Sherratt gasses around the outside, pushes Oliphant into Jadwad, and... Yes, and then Grobler then replicates back into Oliphant. So I think the person at fault here is the Sherratt brother. That's what I think.
You know what? I'm not going to back...
That's actually well spotted, to be honest.
I'm not going to back down on the Leslie thing, because I'll tell you why. When we get to another helicopter shot, look at the curve that he could have turned to go over, and he chooses not to. So
but Marius, you can't hit that curve. It's a sausage curve.
No, it's the size of a building.
You can't. Yeah, you can't touch that curve on it.
Hear me? Look at the space on the inside of that curve. So my point is, I still think he needed to have slowed his car down more. He can't just assume that he can run into the middle of that first chicane. He can't. Why did he end up there?
He is at fault for releasing the brake, okay? But at starting this whole procedure, he's braked early because of the first turn carnage, okay? So he doesn't want to run into the back of anyone. Grobler's then taken the opportunity and found the gap on the brakes, okay? He now outbrakes all of these guys. He even outbrakes Jadwad, okay? Oliphant wants to keep his position, so he's forced his way back through. But the three of them touch, but don't actually knock each other. They kind of sort of find their way around the corner, okay? And then
They would have survived, yeah.
Sherratt then hits. Then it becomes a big like replica or a smash, and that's what it is, you know.
Cody's gone and tapped the outside of the right side of Oliphant's car, which has turned him back into JC's car. But I still look, the person who's not to blame here, in my opinion, is JC, because I mean he stopped his car perfectly. It was in the middle of the track. He never look. I mean he hasn't outbraked himself at all. But
he hasn't outbraked himself, but he did squeeze Oliphant though. He did squeeze him.
No, but he didn't, because Jadwad was moving across, so he had no choice. But at the end of the day, Oliphant never backed out of this. This is what irritates me with this, because he can see that car there. What I still don't like where Leslie ends up. He ends up in the middle of that corner, so he's actually aiming for Jadwad. Have a look there, that nose. What's he doing there? How can he see?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is
There's another side to this, and what I don't like is, look at that, 1 overtake, 2 overtakes, 3 overtakes before turn 1. I don't think Grobler should have been that hot into it.
But I don't think Grobler's done anything wrong. He's seen a gap and he's gone for the gap. He's stopped the car in time. He hasn't gone in hot and pushed the guy out in front of him and whatever the case is. He's come to a complete stop, yeah.
But doing it, he's known that he's going into that corner 3 wide. Because he knows Leslie's still to the side of him.
But he
knows his back is on the other side.
Squeeze him, John. Look here, he's actually not trying to squeeze him. He's gone into that gap. Jadwad's come across and he's put his car in the middle and saying, listen, I'm not getting involved. I'm not squeezing anyone here. But
But keep in mind that Grobler has placed himself there knowing that it's going to be 3 wide.
Yeah, 100%. And Oliphant still has a right to stay where he is, Marius, because he's past his B pillar. He's up in his inside. He's past the B pillar.
And the braking, when you watch the
No.
The problem with Oliphant is that he's on the wrong line. So for him, I'm going to be take.
Just watch it quickly. He's past him, Taz. He's past him. Now he comes back at him. So don't say that he's not up there. He's past him. So Oliphant was done and dusted into that corner. So in actual fact, if Grobler wanted to move across and really block the line, he could have. But he's actually made the pass clean on Oliphant.
He wasn't clear. Hey, it was. You are right that he went far past, but he was never at any point could he have gone in front of him.
Which is why he never deviated from his line. So I'm just saying, he's so Oliphant, what does he do? He comes off the brakes and he has another run up the inside. That's what he's done. Because look where
he is. I don't think he should have released the brakes and gone in as hot as he did. But at the end of the day, when they got into the middle of the corner, they didn't come together and spin into turn 1. You understand? They kind of made it through. They've actually made it through. Yeah, they've all made it through. And when Sherratt's come around the outside, he's knocked him in. So, yes.
Take Jadwad out of this. If Jadwad wasn't there, Grobler would have been knocked off track by Oliphant. The only reason why Grobler stayed where he was because Jadwad, he banged into Jadwad. So that's my point. The person who's coming in here too hot is Leslie Oliphant.
Yeah.
So what should we get a view from above? Jadwad is the one that kept Grobler where he... I mean, watch out. Jadwad wasn't there. Leslie bangs him into Jadwad. Watch out. On the nose. Bumps him into Jadwad. Pushes him out.
They survive. It's paint scraping and hard racing, but not a real issue. I'm going to say that this is a very messy racing incident with warnings for 3 drivers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can give them all penalties because it is a replica of one onto the other and whatever the case is. Grobler tried to make a move. Oliphant tried to keep his move and Sherratt's kind of got in the middle of it and they've all come together because you can't physically go 4 abreast into the left-hander. So it's just physically impossible.
I think Grobler definitely should not have been in it to overtake 3 cars.
I've got no problem with that, Jonathan. Seriously.
I think Oliphant shouldn't have come back so hard because he could have slowed down more. And I think that Cody saw an opportunity that may not have been there.
Yeah.
Although it's tricky.
I
to
don't
get
honestly.
him
I don't
involved.
think Grobler's done anything wrong. He
No.
stopped the car in time,
No,
and he has gone for a gap. So I don't think he's done anything wrong. I think what he could have done possibly is not gone up completely next to Jadwat and rather gone
Yeah.
behind Jadwat, because then it would have left
yeah.
Oliphant. It would have left Oliphant a little bit more room on the road. That's what I think should have happened.
If we can watch
Look.
that, when that replay comes up again, that last aerial shot, watch him off the brakes, off the brakes, off the brakes. He just keeps running his car deeper and deeper into that corner because he's not going to give up that position. That for me is the problem. I promise you. He just keeps it going, keeps it going, keeps it going. He's not trying to stop that car. Because
He is trying to.
Nah.
He's trying to stop it. He's
He's
already
not a
been up the
compromised lad.
inside, Marius. He's already been up the inside. He wants to remain up the inside. Grobler's made a move. 100% Grobler's made a move, and it's a good move, okay? I'm not taking that away from Grobler. What I'm taking away is that he sees an opportunity, and he sees then another opportunity, and so he goes for it, and there's absolutely nothing wrong. But what happens is when he's going for these gaps, he's squeezing Oliphant in the process. So I think I don't see anything wrong with Grobler's move. He's made already 2 places. He could have just stayed behind Jadwat and made more space.
Watch.
How are we going to have this argument the whole way around? I'm telling you right now, if I was Oliphant, I would have stayed exactly up the inside where I initially was. He's braked early to avoid an incident. Grobler's gone in late on the brakes and made moves, and he's allowed to do that, okay? But when he's done that, he's carried on trying to find the gaps, and in the process, he's squeezed Oliphant.
But why has Leslie, this is my point, why has Leslie not turned tighter right then? If there's a car there.
His line is completely compromised.
No, but hang on. But Jonathan, you're right. His line is completely compromised. There is no perfect line into turn 1 when there's 3 or 4 cars all dogfighting for it. But why is he ending up in the middle? No one else ended up there. Jadwat didn't.
Do you know what? Hey, do you know what? If Oliphant actually went tighter there and came to a complete stop, he actually would have hit Grobler on the left back wheel, spinning Grobler.
My point is here, is once they are into turn 1, he makes no effort to do like Cody came around the outside. He makes no effort to open up this corner. He just guns, beeline straight for the middle, and he picks his normal turn-in point here. Check. I'm taking my racing line through here. I don't care the fact that there are 2 other cars on the other side of me. That's my issue.
No. The only reason why he hits Grobler into this left hand is because he's been hit from the outside.
Where he hasn't been hit.
Watch out.
No,
He gets hit. That's the only reason why he hits Grobler, yeah.
They wouldn't have spun otherwise.
They wouldn't have. If Cody wasn't around the outside there, all 3 of them would have gone through the left hand. I'm telling you now.
Look here. He's taking his normal line through. He's got no regard for Grobler, who's up his inside. No regard. So he hasn't tried to give him any space on the second part of this corner. Nothing. Because if he did, he wouldn't have ended up there. I can tell you now. Because what ended up happening is Grobler got squeezed by Jadwat and Leslie. But he was ahead of Leslie going into that corner. Check him. Why does he end up there? See, look at all the track.
He comes back. But Oliphant comes back. He doesn't go straight left.
Of course
he comes back for the right hand. He comes back. He's in the middle of the track. There's still room for a car on the inside. There's still room.
There isn't room because the car on the inside is Grobler. There is room on the outside, which is where Cody went. Have a look here. On that aerial shot, Cody went around the outside because...
No, Jadwat's at the inside of Oliphant.
No. Have a look at the space. have a look at the space.
Oh, goodness. Marius, we're going to have a boxing match.
Have a look here. Have a look at the space.
Jadwat's at the inside of Oliphant. Where do you want him to go?
Who?
Where do you want Oliphant to go there?
I wanted Oliphant not to be as hot on... He's the one that ran in too hot into turn 1 here.
Yes, he's running too hot into turn 1, but he's done nothing wrong into turn 2. He's got someone up his inside. He hasn't turned in.
But he has, because he then...
He hasn't.
Hang on, Taz. How then can he assume to take turn 2 if there's a car next to him?
Exactly. There is a car next to him, though. You can't go through the car. He gets hit from Cody on the outside.
That's what he tried to do before Cody touched him. Watch here. He's trying to take his turn. Check. He's knocked Grobler out of the way.
No. He hasn't. He's coming hot. 100% he's coming hot into turn 1, okay? Into turn 1, yes. 100% he knocked him. But Grobler's now...
No.
Yes, but now Grobler's behind him going into turn 2. Look, he's behind him.
Because he's knocked Grobler into Bashir.
I'll put my foot in here and say while it's not very similar to the Essa Webb situation, it's almost exactly the same. Oliphant was at some point at any given point he was still overlapping, and he came back. Okay, everyone's got radar, and then he couldn't take the turn tight because of where he's placed himself now. Grobler is there, Jadwat is there, big mess. So what that means is that because nobody spun in that incident, not the end of the world, the spin happens for the next Apex. But I think Grobler holds a little bit of blame. I think Oliphant holds a little bit of blame. And I don't think we can actually put any blame on Cody there.
Yeah, I mean, he's taken the opportunity. He's seen a mess up the inside. He's tried to go around the outside, and he's hit him. But at the end of the day, these guys caused the mess into this corner. So Cody does hit them, but at the end of the day, he's trying to make room for himself, and he's made space, and he's gone around the outside, and they've happened to hit.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I think it's a racing incident. I don't like this one's wrong, that one's wrong. They've come together, and the mess, they would have actually all eventually got around there. I don't know.
It was a very messy situation. It's not the first time we've seen like a messy situation where it's almost impossible to lay blame on one single person. At the end of the day, it is still turn 1. We requested the drivers to please be aware of this and take it easy. Overtaking 3 guys, seeing an opportunity, puts Grobler partly at fault. Oliphant also partly at fault because he wanted to come back at that. He didn't want to just
give up that position.
Yeah, so he lifted brakes, he pushed in a bit, and that's where Oliphant's at fault.
Yeah.
Cody, I don't think we can put him at fault, and I think that Oliphant and Grobler are both at fault here. Racing incident.
I'm happy with the racing incident. The JC Grobler, well done, mate. Every time you see a gap like that, take it.
No, don't say that. You did it the last time that you got a penalty.
I think spatial awareness. I think spatial awareness needs to they need to take a little bit more notice of that and just give each other a little bit more room. If you see a space, yes, go for it. But if you've already gone past someone, you can't squeeze them onto the grass kind of deal. And I think it's just vice versa. I think everyone just needs to give each other room, and everyone's going to make it eventually through the corner. At the end of the day, the race is not won in the first corner, and people need to realize this.
Yeah, I'm all for going for gaps, but forward thinking, 3 wide into a turn is never going to turn up.
Agreed.
Not a tight turn like that.
I suppose had you not been dealing with the incident up front at that corner, you probably would have been okay to give him. You probably could have given both of them drive-throughs, to keep your consistency with that ruling. Yeah. That probably would have been okay,
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look at the final.
Okay, so now.
Great, I love that.
Okay. He's like it.
Yeah. Okay, now. This is the last one, and this incident is with Farrant, and we're going to go back to Jordan Sherratt. Now, it's not, let me just make this clear, it's not picking on Sherratt here. It's not picking on Sherratt Nut, everybody. I'm highlighting this incident because it's unique, and we have not seen this yet in this league. And it was an incident that was given to us by Farrant. Yeah, you see Sherratt lining Farrant up for a pass into Ascari.
Yeah.
Farrant defensive, but he's going to go back to the race line. Sherratt breaks late.
Yeah, he gives back this position though, if I remember. Does he not? Does he not give back that position? I'm trying to remember because he needed to because he obviously doesn't make the corner.
Yeah, he did not give back the position.
Okay, yeah, I thought he did, didn't he?
This was the last lap.
Does he not get a penalty from the game though?
No,
for running off track.
He would have probably got a warning from the game.
Yes, well, you know, can I tell you what, to go and make a giggle out of this? I mean, we go back to we go back to turn 1 on that last lap. Remember the chaos? Because funny that's not an incident because these guys all fell over each other before at turn 1.
You know what? The fact is, Farrant shouldn't have changed. Farrant shouldn't have gone back to the right hand side, and Sherratt wouldn't have been able to make the move. So,
well, if he kept his,
I don't think Sherratt's in the wrong. I don't think he's in the wrong. He's made a move. I don't think he's in the wrong at all.
He didn't make.
He didn't make the corner. He came in a bit hot, but I mean, Farrant didn't try and get back past him.
I don't think. I think he braked too late, and he could not make the corner on his own. And
it's not a pass.
That's not a pass. Yeah,
it's not a pass. So, it's a great move if he had have made the corner. But I mean, have a look how far wide he shoots. So unfortunately, Farrant then can't come back at him because he's got to follow the circuit. You know what I mean? So that's why he can't get back past him.
I don't know.
Watch how late he brakes here as well. Because he's obviously trying to make sure that that is very late to brake for that corner.
Yeah.
So yes, he hasn't made the corner. So I think the only penalty you can really give him is exactly put him behind Farrant. That's all. But he's gone for a move, and he's right in doing so. But he's obviously gone in a bit hot. Hasn't made the corner, and Farrant's obviously had to back out of it and not be able to get back past him. So I think the only thing you can do is give him a one-place penalty and put him behind Farrant. But at the end of the day, I think I probably would have tried the exact same thing.
Yeah, and you can't fault guys for making an attempt on a pass, or especially the last lap. You want to make that move. But
it's a
I think the only way, the only way Farrant can learn from that is if he stayed up the inside and he's defended his position. That's where he needs to stay. If you move, someone's going to make a move on you. So, if I was Jordan, I would have done the exact same thing, and I would have attempted it at the last corner. You want to try and make up as many places as you can. He hasn't made the corner, unfortunately. So yes. I don't know. I don't think you can actually give him a penalty for it, to be honest.
Taz, you know the thing though, from Wesley's perspective, I can imagine you go defensive, but at some point you realise, okay, the pass can't happen now because I'm reaching the break point. There's no ways he can, so he's going to move back to have the proper racing line through here, not expecting Jordan to still be committed to taking it. So the reality, if that was a cliff, Jordan would be dead. So
yes, but the reality, it wasn't a cliff. And I reckon if this exact move happened in real life and he got away with it, whether he ran off the track and came back on the track, he wouldn't get a penalty for it. So I don't know if you can give Sherratt a penalty for it. He has come in hot and but at the end of the day he's made the move, huh? So
the move's not completed.
No, but you see, that's my issue, and I always like this. If this was Wesley, unfortunately, is at he's got to make the corner, so that's why he can't come back at Jordan, because he's stayed on the track. So you know what I mean. That's why I go back to.
So we look at that top view. Okay, if Jordan maybe just ran onto the green stuff, it would be a different story. But he actually goes onto the dirt. So I think in real life he wouldn't have been able to get back onto the track if you've hit the dirt like you have. So I think if he had maybe used the green stuff and not more, then yes, okay, good move. But the fact that I see now he's gone into the actual sand trap, maybe he was just a little bit optimistic with that move.
Let's look at it like this. If that was a Super Pole quali, that lap time would have been discounted because all four left the track. That's, I know what you're saying in terms of the overtake, but that's how I look at it here, and I go back to that. Like, it's a great move, and we want to encourage that. But obviously, at the end of the day, you've got to stay on the track limits. And Wesley
still have to remain on track in order to make a win.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and great to see. And I mean, you're right, Taz, you're gonna have a go. But I think Jordan won't be unhappy if we say, listen, dude, well done. You had a go at it, but obviously you went off track, so we're just going to put you behind Wesley. I mean, that's normal.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Okay, so that wraps up our videos for tonight.
So essentially that is literally, you're just going to dock that one position. He's just going to end up being slotted in behind Wesley, correct, Jonathan?
Correct. Yes. The reality, though, is that Wesley did not finish behind Sherratt. So
he finished behind Marcus. So Marcus benefited out of that.
Yeah.
So you can only... you see, that's a tricky thing because...
No, it is what it is. He has to go behind him.
Yeah. So he loses 2 places.
Because at the end of the day, he compromised him by that move, and that's why the other guy was able to get past. So.
Well, can I tell you, that is karma at its very best. Because if you remember, Marcus got taken out on that last lap in turn 1. Do you remember that?
Oh, that's right, yes.
And he lost 2 places. So for him to get those 2 places back because of those guys running off at Ascari, karma's a wonderful thing. Anyway, but listen. So what are you going to do, Jonathan? Drop him 2 places.
Or 1 place, effectively.
1 place. So where did? Because it was Jordan, and then was it Marcus, and then Wesley?
Yes, but quite far back. Wesley actually crashed into the last turn.
Oh, did he?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay, then you can't put him behind him then.
We can't put him 2 positions back.
No, you can't. Yeah. Okay, so it's 1 place drop.
Yeah.
Okay. Just before we wrap up, I mean, we were having a little banter before tonight's show, and we actually mentioned right in the beginning, just to kind of put things in perspective of what we're trying to do, Jonathan, Taz, and myself with these little incident reports, and I just feel so strongly about what we are trying to do as a team, and you guys as ATK putting this whole amazing series together. And you look at what an amazing weekend it was with the virtual 24 Hours of Le Mans. It's exciting times for simulator racing. But I think it's also a twilight zone at the moment, because the guys are coming out of their dungeons, out of their bubbles where they've been playing, and it's forums and chats and all that type of stuff, and you're racing. And now you're mixing with the real world, with real racing decisions and real implications. And I just think the guys seem to be struggling to deal with those type of things. And the big picture for me here is about marketing yourself. I mean, ultimately, this sort of series, you want to be taken seriously as a sport. You guys have asked for it as the racers, and the world's now listening and taking you seriously. So you need to behave like professional sportsmen too. Decisions that get made, incidents that happen, you need to deal with it. And you don't deal with it by bitching and moaning on forums about stuff. That's just my view. I don't know how you feel, Taz. It's a difficult one for Jonathan to get involved in. But Taz, just in terms of how you deal with things from a real racing perspective.
Well, like we were saying before, Marius, at the end of the day is when a decision gets made by the clerk of the course, you don't really have a say whether you think you're right or you think you're wrong. In real racing, a decision gets made during a race, you get a drive-through penalty. There's nothing you can do to get your place back from that.
Yeah.
So you can go and argue with the clerk of the course as much as you want. You can be right, you can be wrong, or however it comes about. But you cannot get your position back no matter what you do. You've already had the penalty, you've had the drive-through penalty, and that's just what it is. So, I mean, in real life racing, yes, you can protest and you can do all these things. But at the end of the day, it comes down to one person deciding on a decision. So if they decide that you're at fault, and that's how they view the incident, whether you think you're right or you think you're wrong or whatever it may be, that's the decision that gets stuck to. So there's always going to be a judge panel that rules a decision and decides on it, and that's how it is. And sometimes you walk out and you're happy because you've won it, and sometimes you walk out and you're unhappy because you've lost it. Yeah. And it doesn't help bitching and moaning about it, because at the end of the day, that decision isn't going to change.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you've got to take it and you've got to learn from it, and you've got to make sure you don't do the same mistakes over and over in the next race. And it works the same in sim racing as it does in real life. And I mean, these guys, like you said, they want to be taken seriously. They've come on into these championships, and we haven't got real racing at the moment. So this is what real racing is right now. So if you want to do that, you need to just take what's given to you and learn from it, because if you don't, you're never ever going to progress into something further forward. I mean, it's not any easier in the real life racing world. So if you can learn now from mistakes, if you do decide to go racing in the real world, then you're only going to benefit from that. It's not going to change because it's sim racing versus real racing. It's even harsher in real racing, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
But you know what the tricky thing is? I mean, we also, we live in a world now with social media and forums and chats and all that type of stuff. And you've got to, at a very early stage, you've got to start building your brand and start working on the message that you give across. Now, obviously, we can talk about Lewis Hamilton and all the top racing drivers. They just are so careful about what they say on those forums, because it can come around and bite them in the bum. But they are looking at the big picture from building a brand and telling a story. And that's what we're trying to create here. And, you look at even the guys starting out in Polo Cup. It's about being able to deal with those things. A racing driver is never going to admit being wrong. So like we were having that fight, I'm like, I think this is this, and you've got that opinion. And that is the reality of it. But when the decision is made, like you said, it's about, okay, well, it can't be changed. So suck it up and let's move on to the next round. It's not then for you to find forums and platforms to go and moan, because all that is created is this perception that for us as outsiders that deal in the real world, we get that perception that this is what happens in sim racing. The guys just complain and moan about everything, and that's unfortunate, because you don't have that feeling at the pit lane. At the pit lane, we resolve it. We face to face. We deal with it, and it's over and done. And you go on and race. And that's just the message I think we want to get across, because this is an amazing little product that's being put together here. It's a great series that the guys are racing in. And I think it's just for everyone to just take it on the chin, be professional, respect each other, have fun. You're going to disagree, but keep things above board in terms of interactions.
Yeah, and I think if I can add to that, it's that, it's the big picture is, the amount of people in the community here that are taking part in this Pro Series League, where, perhaps a certain amount of people have problems and are vocal and whatever. And that small amount of people have a tendency to, create a vibe for everybody. And it's discouraging for other guys that are having fun and that are pushing and stuff. So, it's just it's all about creating a good vibe for what we're trying to do here.
Yeah. But listen,
well, they want to become professionals, and whether it's in the sim racing world or in the real racing world. And like you said, Marius, you're making a name for yourself. So if you're going to continue complaining about the same things over and over and over again, who's going to want to deal with you? Yeah. No one's going to. I mean, everyone behind the scenes is putting in so much effort and taking time out of their everyday lives to sit behind the screen for 5 hours to watch and commentate and to make decisions on a race, and then to get told that you're not doing this right and you're not doing that right. Like it doesn't feel good, No. And it's you doing it, and you're offering your services and your help, and you're trying to help them improve and, enjoy the racing and, have a good time, because at the end of the day, that's what you're doing it for. You're doing it because you enjoy doing it. Yeah. And like my dad always said, if you're not enjoying being at the racetrack, why go? What's the point, anything, But exactly, why do it?
But Taz, it is a difficult thing, because, I mean, that's the reality, is that, you are sitting in a bubble here from a simulator perspective. I mean, I'm in PE, Cape Town, Joburg, we're all over the place, and we're racing and we're commentating, we're doing our stuff. And when I started watching the sim racing, I don't know who the guys are, because unless you're in the community, you've got no idea. That is changing. And this is not what we want. This is what the sim racers want. They want to be recognized. They want people to know them. So it's like, oh, well, there's Charles Leclerc. Oh, and Yari is so-and-so. Sahir Essa. Like, that people actually acknowledge them on the same level, that you know who these guys are. And that is starting to happen. And you look at like that virtual Le Mans, that's exactly, people start recognizing those names and those faces now because they're being taken seriously, because they're competing against the best in the real world as well. And that for me is what is so critical, is that those guys have now learned how to toe the marketing line. They've learned to play the marketing game. And the marketing game is not about bitching and moaning about decisions. It's about making yourself marketable. So the brands go, yeah, what a cool guy to get behind. I mean, you look at our sponsors, we've got AMD and Elgato and Corsair, Kyalami, Nano, MSA. You know, these guys are all getting involved to put the series on. And what they're looking for is guys that are going to come through at the end, not only on brilliant ability, but brilliant marketability, so that you can actually do stuff with them. Because you are the next voice for the next sim racer who might become the next real racer, whatever it might be. And that for me is just the lesson that people need to learn. I don't care if people think I'm a tool and have things to say on forums, because I don't live on forums. I live in the real world, you know, and that's kind of my reality. That's where you want to spend your time at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, and we are here and we're offering like guidance or support or like giving our opinion. And I'm only giving my opinion from my point of view. I don't say that my point of view is always right. And like we argued about the same incident, but we both took different approaches to it. But at the end of the day, is like I said, if a decision is made, a decision is made. I can only say my point of view, and you can only give your point of view. And if not everyone's going to agree on both. Everyone's going to have their own point of view, you know. And we're not attacking any individual driver. We're simply looking at an incident, giving our point of view, and a decision is being made on it. And the exact same thing happens in real life. There's a judge or panel, and they look at the incident, and I can guarantee you all three of those people who look at the incident don't always agree, but they eventually come to the same decision. And that's just how it is.
Well, that's what we did. I'm not going to go onto the forum now, or are you, Taz? And we're going to sit and still want to prove our point.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, but you know, I know what the guys might say. Just to play devil's advocate here, the guys might say, "Yeah, but okay, Jonathan, Marius, and Tasmin, you've been flipping going on now for an hour, expressing your point of view. Now it's our turn." That is what they will say, and that's what the chats and the forums are for. But at the end of the day, we are brought in here in professional capacities, I suppose, to give our opinions and to run the series, and that is the difference. So we are not now, once the event's done, we're looking to round 6 at Nürburgring. That's where I'm focusing now. I'm not worried about this is done, this is passed, and this is what the guys need to do. It's done. Monza's wrapped. 2 weeks time we're at Nürburgring. That's where you need to be focusing. What's happened now has happened. There's nothing you can do to change it, so we don't need to keep discussing it. That's how I view it.
For sure.
Right, so we've got a winner as well. So if you were watching the live stream yesterday, which Tasmin you weren't because you were on the golf course. At least you were
having a hack.
At least you were working on your driving. We did have a very cool competition, which the winner was getting a Monster skateboard and a set of Astra Aid headphones. And we've done the draw, and apparently it's somebody within our community. So the winner, very, very cool, Godfather Zedda. I'm told that might be Sean Mumford, I think. I hope I'm right. But congratulations to Godfather Zedda. That very cool prize, a Monster skateboard and the Astra headphones going your way. I know Tasmin wanted those. That's cool. I think we're going to keep doing that with every single round. Taz, you can work on your golf because you got next weekend off. Jonathan, also weekend off for the whole team.
Well, it's my 30th next week, so I kind of have to take that one off.
Or at least you'll put your head down if you try and play golf off there. Because I hope
you only turned 31. Okay.
Yeah, I turned 30 and turned around. But weekend off for all of us. Make the most of it. Happy 30th for the weekend, Taz. And we're going to see you guys again next weekend, 2 weekends time. Sorry, at Nürburgring. Taz, just final thoughts on Nürburgring. Interesting track, proper driver's track this time. Sure, it's going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, it has a lot of tight corners, a lot of fast-flowing corners. So I think it's going to challenge a lot of drivers. It's a very technical track, or I find it's a very technical track. So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be at the top, but we're obviously going to see a lot of the same guys at the top. So hopefully we start seeing different winners. But yeah, I mean, big ups to Essa. He's doing a phenomenal job and he's keeping his nose clean. He is being aggressive, so it's what he needs to do to win a championship, and he's going about it the right way. So yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens to the next round, and I'm looking forward to joining you guys.
Good. Jonathan, just final thoughts in terms of balance of performance. Are there cars that are well suited to Nürburgring on Assetto Corsa?
Ooh, I think that should be very interesting to see. I don't think we're going to see the Mercedes as strong as this week. Definitely, but
it seems like a Porsche. It seems like a Porsche type of track.
And that Audi.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Jordan up there. That should be good. That's going to be good. But I'm seeing a lot of posts on the forums asking us to give you a drive-through penalty, Marius.
Oh, listen, I'm happy. If
He's got a daily drive-through penalty. What are you talking about?
I park in the special parking. No, listen, what I'm trying to do, I mean, it's awesome. The guys at ATK have kind of hooked me up. I'm Mac-based, so I've never ever worked on a PC, but we've got a little PC and we've got a Logitech wheel, and we're going to try and get that sorted out. We just can't get the flipping wheel to work at the moment. So once we get that figured out, it'll be nice, because for me, just to get immersed into the game is obviously going to be great. But I mean, you know, some of the guys that have been around for a long time remember, I mean, I was flipping a huge lover of sim racing in the early days. So I had a racing seat in like 2003, 2004, and we were obviously PlayStation based back then. And we did a lot of TV stuff around that, talking about the benefit of sim racing in terms of what you can do as a driver and how you can improve. And then I kind of just got caught up in the real racing and stopped doing the sim racing. So it'll be nice to get back into it. So looking forward to a drive-through penalty. It'll be well received. I'm not going to bitch on the forums.
Fantastic.
Well, guys, that is it. Massive thank you again to our sponsors, to AMD, to Elgato, to Corsair, obviously to Kyalami 9 Hour Motorsports South Africa as well, and the ATK Pro Series. Well done to all the guys for another great round of racing, round 5 at Monza. We'll see you 2 weeks' time in Germany in the Nürburgring. Be good.
Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me in. Now we're saying I've been going to the top and I got what they not, so I know that they hate that. All these men gonna zone out, and all these men gonna tell you what I did, and they twist and they bust till I fall out. But I know that, so I keep what I'm doing cause I own that. And I stay in the lab and I kill everything, but I don't ever move, I'm a cone. So finally back in my home, I'm working, I don't know if that's why I had me a drum. Dance my phone, ballin', can't beat me up cause I'm back in my zone now. Having a great strap.